We're back. We're going to conclude the formal learning part of these sessions with a look at course settings and aspects of sharing. So we're going to get right into our session with knowing how to get to the course settings. Go inside of your course, like I have here. You're going to click along here with me. You don't have to save everything, just move with me here. Locate your course settings at the very bottom of navigation here. And once you have landed, you should be on course details. So here's where we're going to start our discussion of how you can customize certain aspects of your course, turn things on or off at will to suit your needs. The very first area you have full control over is the image that appears behind the color overlay on the dashboard card. And originally, it probably comes in branded as MTSU. It is a nice idea to have that course image evoke your course in some way. So if you teach history, for instance, maybe you have an image of those relevant historical figures there, for example. So if you'd like to switch out that image, you can remove it entirely here. Click Choose Image and then click on the silhouette of the picture to find a course image that better suits your course. And while students can modify the color overlay color, they cannot modify the picture. Move on down here and see what else you might want to change. This particular setting is an example of a setting that you're not able to modify. It appears grayed out, but it does let you know that someone has turned that on for you in this case. This means that we are not letting students access the course before the term starts, which I think makes sense. However, I do see this next checkbox could be turned on or off by you. Right now, mine is on. Since I have this checked off, it means I am not letting students see my course after the term is over. So you have to decide, what would be most useful for you. If you are teaching as part of a program where there is some cumulative final goal at hand, like nursing is a great example, where I might want to have access to several courses so I can study for those cumulative exams, then you might want to not restrict students from viewing the course after the term end date. I think that's going to be primarily personal preference. Moving on down here, you can modify what's called your default due time. And I haven't mentioned this, but you may have noticed when I set up my assignment due times, 6 o'clock always appeared first. That's because I chose for this time to be chosen by default, because maybe I want to encourage students to sleep. And I don't want it to be 11:59 p.m., which is normally the default. So if you wish, you can change it to be something different like 8 o'clock.
Hi, Helen. Can I interject for 1 second here? I just want to say how wonderful it is that you chose 6 o'clock because our help desk is available to support students during those times.
Oh,
So if your students might need help with an assignment, submitting something, they can get support 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. almost all the time. But if you make your default due time later than that, it seems like you're giving them extra time, but you're also taking away that support.
great point there. All right. Um,
Real quick, if you can go back up, you see where it says for course or term, go back up a little more. And yours says term. And mine, when you click on term, it by default, I guess the university already did it.
Mhm.
When I clicked on course, I had made my dates. Unfortunately, because I can't change the term dates, I already have students in my class and the class isn't even fully set up. So I guess I cannot, because by default it's light gray. It says May 13th to August 14th. However, if I click on course, then I was able to put in my own dates, but the term overrides that. So I have students in already in my class, and my class isn't completely ready before the 18th. So I guess there's nothing we can do about that.
So that's not true. Your students can't access the course until the course is published. Two things have to happen. The date has to hit that's set by that term. And yes, we do set it so students can access courses 5 days before the term starts because that's an MTSU policy. But if you're not ready, just don't publish the class because no student can complete anything until the class is published.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Right. The next toggle, frankly, doesn't apply to 99% of people. The 1% who might be affected with this might be upper level language courses where they've reached a certain level of proficiency, where changing the default language of the course might help them learn the language. Otherwise, for the rest of us, you'll want to leave it on not set because it'll default to English. But in case the 1% is here, um, you can choose any language on this list and it will translate, say, the language of the Canvas specific things like assignments and syllabus to that term in that language. However, it will not, for example, translate your assignment directions to the other language. A lot of the settings here are already set for you. So in the case of file storage, that's certainly true. I think your file storage for your student-facing courses is more generous than this actually. But this lets you know how much space you have to store your content. Student submissions don't count against this, so don't worry about that. So this number really regulates the files you're choosing to upload. And it's for these reasons that we want you to use, for example, Studio, which has a separate amount of gigabytes set aside, as opposed to uploading those giant lecture files into the course, because not only does it count against file storage, it makes student mobile experience really painful if you're uploading huge videos. So I would say link wherever possible uh, to make sure that you're conserving that space. You can also choose to turn on a grading scheme. If you do, just know the grading scheme basically translates your overall course grade into letters. You can view it so you get a sense as to what that looks like here. And students can see both the numerical equivalent as well as the letter grade that converts to. Moving on down here, a lot of these toggles don't have to be modified. Certainly, you don't have to modify, say, license. You could choose to turn on a file copyright, which is going to require that students assert that they have followed copyright stipulations, but it will also allow you to see that warning too when you try to upload files to the course. So you'll get a little warning message and you have to check off that you followed this information. All right, moving on down here, under this set of checkboxes here, we've already talked about showing your recent announcements on the course homepage. That's a good thing to check off. I think this is good to check off. Let students attach files. I would not recommend, however, that you let students create their own discussion boards. So let's leave that alone. If you want, you can allow students to edit their own discussion replies or not. And we talked about this actually yesterday. You can hide the overall grade of the student by checking off this box here. You can also choose to hide something called grade distribution graphs. I preferred to hide it because I didn't want students talking and comparing themselves to others. At least I wanted to cut down on that kind of talk. Hiding this makes it so they cannot see, for example, the mean, the median, and the mode of the scores of the students on an assignment. And finally, for you, if you feel passionately about this, you can choose to disable student commenting on announcements. So go ahead and make your changes here, and then you click on Update Course Details to save. All right, so let's give you a little time here to turn on or off various functions. Let us know your questions at the end of that time. Okay, let's go ahead and move on from course details. We're going to head on over into the sections area just really briefly. For you, this will be mainly view only information. You'll have here a link, and when you click on the link, you'll be able to see the members of your course. You'll see the names of your students here. You may even see TAs here, for instance. When you click on the link for a particular individual, It will lead you to your profile, which is an opportunity for me to say, this is a great reason to have a profile so you can see what your students have placed here. And remember too, your enrollments inside of your section or sections is also visible inside of people. So this is not the only place where you can get this information. Moving on from sections, let's take a look at navigation. We've been here multiple times, so let's reinforce this. Remember, we want to minimize the number of areas that students have access to in a course. And it was Lauren's really great suggestion, I know the suggestion of others too, that we have at a minimum modules and grades. And if you use announcements, by all means, put that there. If you use the syllabus, by all means, you can move it up to the top. But we want to make sure they have as few rabbit holes as possible. And if you do need to enable something like the syllabus, we'll take that as an example, because you intend to use it, you can drag and drop it to the top, or you can select on the three dots and choose enable. And if you want to place it within a certain location, you can choose either the drag and drop or there's this move feature where I can place it in a desired location. And you can modify this at any time. So let's say later on in your Canvas journey, you get really excited about the Lucid whiteboard. You should be excited. You can move that just in time for that particular project or assignment. And when that project is over, you can move it back. So whatever you choose to have here doesn't mean that it has to stay there. But yes, arrange what you need to have present there for now. As we've said, modules and grades is good to start. And then click Save. And then you want to check inside of your home area here that this is your desired experience. So once you do, click on Home, View as Student, and then come back to your view inside of Settings.
Helen, this is Sherry, and I have had in the last, seriously, 2 hours, I have had 3 different emails about ProctorU. ProctorU is one of the things that is at the bottom of that screen. So if you intend to use ProctorU for proctoring during that summer term, you're going to need to move that up into the visible part and enable that so that the instructor and the students can access that.
Brilliant, there it is.
And I
And
think more information should go out just to add to that from once we get, because we're working on that integration currently. It's not, it is there, but there's some things we're working on. So be aware that you'll get some information from MTSU Online about that this week.
Perfect. All right. Moving on back from settings. Again, a view-only look of apps. You can see what is accessible here. You'll want to visit with MTSU to make sure your app of choice is installed for you because they need to be in charge of that. And if you click on View App Configurations, you can see what is available. So for example, we talked about roll call attendance, I think yesterday. Here it is here. So at least you have an idea as to what is possible for you. So take a look at that list. Click on the I to understand where that's available. So Lucid, for example, can be part of course navigation or part of the RCE or be an assignment submission type. And if the app that you're looking for is not here, I would reach out to them to talk about what it might be like to install it for you. All right. And then right here is feature options. you can turn on or off various features for your course. For instance, scroll on down here and see what might be turned on for yourself. For example, enhanced rubrics has a green check mark, meaning that it's on. This students' grades page learning mastery default is turned off. So consider this your opportunity to test out new features for yourself. See if you like them because you have the ability to play with them. Submission stickers is an example of that. If you want to enable submission stickers in the speed grader, that's where it appears. Click on enabled. Click on the item itself to understand what it is. And if you need to turn that back off, you can do so at any time by clicking that on so that it appears like a little X. And if you need to quickly find something, right, you have a search for that. And you can also focus on just specific items like what are all of the enabled things? So choose enabled to see what they are. Choose disabled to see what all of the things that are off are. All right, so let me give you a little bit of time here before we head into talking about course sharing and copying to investigate some of your feature options here, maybe even modify your navigation too. And let us know closer to the end of that time if you've got any questions. Oops, click too far. Yeah, it depends on where the course is in the account structure. So the list of feature options you saw on my screen might not be exactly the same as yours.
Yeah, what she's trying to say is, for example, if you're a math teacher and you need access to Alex, and we install that in the math department.
Yeah.
So you might not see that. But things like the Proctor U, things like Studio, things like um, turnitin.com, those are available to everyone.
Right. So where that course is located is determined by certain settings and feature options. And so in the case of the migrated courses, none of those features are on. Therefore, the migrated courses don't have those feature options. When you get your student-facing courses, that might be different because those student courses are in a different place inside of the Canvas structure.
Hey, Deborah, if your feature options have nothing there, that may be a browser issue. Hopefully you're on Chrome. We can try it with the incognito browser, but you should have, even migrated courses have some feature options. Awesome sauce. Great.
That's really what matters, honestly, is to make sure that your desired future options are available in the student courses.
I know what it is, Helen. I'm betting $5 she's in as a co-instructor and not a full instructor. Co-instructors do not have access to those feature options. That's what it is. So in that migrated course, Deborah, you're probably in as a co-instructor. And I don't know which course you're talking about. I'm happy to check it for you if you drop it in the chat, but I'm 98% sure that's what it is.
Okay. All right, great. Any other questions hanging out there? All right. Let's move on to the second half. This is course sharing and copying. So we're going to head on back into one of your courses here. Actually, let's start on the home page because on the home page are two buttons close to the top here. You have an import existing content button and you have an import from Commons button. So let's talk about various aspects of importing. Um, if this is my destination course where I want new content to be received, it is a pretty easy process to bulk import lots of content through the import existing content button. I said a lot. I mean, if you're thinking about moving 10 modules from one course to this course, you are going to want to use the import function because you can do that in bulk. So when you click on that button and choose select content type, you see a lot of options here. I know some of you may have experimented with the D2L option to pull in your D2L content. That's an example of using this. But since you're wanting to copy over, say, 10 modules from one Canvas course to another, copy a Canvas course is your best bet. Now, in the dropdown, you're going to pick that other course that has the content you want. If you are looking for a course from the past, you want to make sure this has this checkbox on. And now you want to consider, do you want to pull in everything? And everything means everything, or to select specific things. I think I remember telling you this morning. Every time I've copied over a whole course, I have regretted it because I receive all that content and now I'm like, what do I do with 20 modules? I think it's better to be very specific about what you want to pull over from this other course. So I like select specific content for that. When you choose it, you have an additional option to adjust your due dates. So if you're roughly sure as to by how many days you want to adjust the due dates, you can click on the checkbox here, remove the dates entirely, which is a choice, or you can shift all of those dates from the old course. So for example, the first deadline you remember was May 14th. Like I can make sure to change it to May 15th or something different. Speaking as like somebody who did this with students, I found that there were so many changes to the calendar every single semester that I just prefer to remove the dates and start over. Um, new holidays come up, like we had to institute like a couple of extra days for this other thing. So you do you. Um, but for me personally, I prefer to set the dates as I went. So I liked to remove the dates for my old courses. Now, since I chose select specific content, when I click on add to import queue, it doesn't automatically pull everything over. So at this point, I need to pick what comes over. And this is where you can be really picky over what will be imported. So if I wanted to pull over, 3 modules, you can, and that will pull over not only the modules, but also the pages, assignments, discussions, everything inside those modules comes with it. This is actually my preferred way to move content over in modules. Otherwise, you can search through other areas of that other course. So for example, I can pull over this one assignment only and not a module, or one particular discussion or specific pages. And you can do a combination. So I can pull over 2 pages and 5 assignments. And then once you have your content all figured out, see here, you can even import rubrics and files. Click on Select Content, and then you'll be prompted to finish, and then everything starts importing right away. You can't put this on a delay. It starts right there and then. And I would recommend you hang around for that so that you can check on the content once it makes it over. So that's the general workflow for copying content from one course to another, particularly again, if you've got a lot of content to move. Now, there is another way to find the import area. Like in Canvas, there's so many ways to do a thing. If you happen to be in settings, you can access the same place by clicking on import. So it's a different button, but it leads you to the same location. Now, this may not actually pertain to most individuals, but I will say this. If you happen to have what's called an export package, a Canvas course that you have used in the past, but at a previous institution, you can pull in that other export package here. So it works similar to the D2L migration, except it's a Canvas course you're pulling over from elsewhere. So that means you'd have to have it. It's called an IMSCC file. I'll type that in the chat. So once you have it, you can drag and drop it, or you can browse to locate the file. And again, you can choose to pull everything or choose select specific content. So this is a way you can transfer your Canvas courses from one institution to another. Now, both of these methods are a bulk method, right? For handling a lot of content at once. If on the other hand, you just want to copy one page, I don't know that I would do this because this seems like a lot of fuss for one page. In that case, I might want to do something a little different. And that's to use copy to. For instance, here's our beautiful pre-calculus homepage from this morning. If I wanted to copy just this homepage from pre-calculus to my dev shell, you can do that, but from here. So select on the 3 dots for it, and you have here copy to. And then I'll select my dev shell. And as an option, I can even put it in a module so I can find it easily. So I'll go ahead and put it and start here. And then I'll check my dev shell. And remember, I put it in a module, right? So I'll go and look at my module and it should appear momentarily. You might have to refresh and wait for it. So that's what I would do if I just wanted one assignment, one page, 2 discussions, just a couple of small items. All right, so let's reiterate that copy to process. I'll pick something different. Let's say I want to copy something from pre-calculus to my dev shell. Let me pick just one. See, let me just pick one module, support resources. So find the item you want to copy over, like support resources. Find the menu for it, It's probably a three dots here, and you're looking for copy two. Choose the course where you want the content to go, and then choose copy. So again, that's great for those small items. All right. Let me give you just a few minutes to practice copy two, maybe even practice copy a Canvas course. And then we'll end with a couple of tips, and then we'll be done with this session. Okay, question about grading schemes. Let's see. So if I enable a course grading scheme here, there are, well, a default grading scheme has already been enabled here. Um, MTSU, yeah, maybe you need to weigh in. Do you want instructors to create their own grading scheme? Because they could. This might be a department decision. I'm not sure. You're muted, Lauren.
Um, if, and Sherry weigh in, but if I'm not mistaken, there are some departments that use a little bit different weighting grading scheme anyway. So, they had that ability in D2L. So,
I'm sorry, I'm a slacker. I'm trying to solve somebody's problem on the side
Good.
here.
Just
Tell me
grades.
what my question is.
The fact that we have it enabled that they can add a grade scheme, I think it's appropriate because I think there are department like nursing, I think has one like different ones.
Right. And remember, all this does
Yeah.
is it puts a letter grade next to the number.
Yeah.
That's really all it does. So the grade schemes will be important someday if we ever do the banner, pipeline, ILP, the sync. If we ever try to push grades from Canvas into, whatever system we're using at that time, then the grading schemes will matter and you'll probably be limited at that time. But right now there isn't. The only thing it does is put a letter next to it. I mean, that's literally it. So you can change whatever you want and no, you cannot make it more than 100%.
All right, so it looks like you can go ahead and use a grading scheme, but only those boxes that appear editable are editable.
But if you can't make it more than 100%, but if you edit the 94% down to 93, it will repopulate in the next row. So it does change. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
can't, then 93 is repeatable twice.
No, it'd be less than 93.
Less than. See, it's a less than.
Okay, okay,
So it'll start at like 90, what is it, 92.9 or whatever.
Right.
okay,
Right.
all right.
All right, and then question about notifications. And so in short, Dr. Creighton, yes, they can. It is up to the student to set the notifications though. So I would suggest at the beginning of your time with the students that you go over the notifications you expect them to turn on. All right, let's wrap up with a couple of extra bits of info regarding the other half of course settings and sharing, and that is exporting course content, which you can do. Now, I would caution you about this because you have beautiful MTSU branded resources that are only meant to be used in MTSU. Think about that other institution. I don't think they would appreciate seeing MTSU branded things in their courses. So keep in mind, use of the MTSU resources and the template are meant to be for MTSU use inside those courses. But there are instructors that like to keep backups, right? Because they want to have that assurance. And that's okay if you feel that way. If you feel that way, click on course for export type, click create export. And once you have a link present, you can click on the drop down here, or the link rather, and you can pick up your IMSCC export of that course here. There's a couple of final reminders. Remember that you should be checking your courses for broken links when you receive new courses, when you import them, and then when you export them. And you have a link validator here to check those broken links. Once you get your report, you can click on that item like this quiz right here. And remember, it's got two errors were indicated, which are probably these two. So I would click on the pencil here and fix the link by just removing the broken link and adding in the correct one. Finally, and this is going to bring us a full circle because we started our days together with the Commons and we're going to end with the Commons. As you know, you can import content from the Commons. You have seen this workflow numerous times at this point. What is not so well known is you can also export to the Commons. So actually, you could do this. If you go to the Commons here, actually, I tied myself up in a knot here. If I go to modules, let's take this module here, right? Let's say I love my Welcome to Precalculus module. You can share this to the Commons. It's right here. And you can set this up so that all of MTSU can see your beautiful module 1. What is also kind of not well known is you can even share content only to yourself, which is a secret form of cloud storage in a sense. So this can allow for, say, like, instructors of a single course to share content in between each other if they didn't want to do send to, copy to. So all you need to do is to fill in, say, all of MTSU, fill in the information about your module, enter an image, enter in the grade level, and then click share. And that's going to end course settings and sharing.